So, ancient pyramids were created all across and act essentially as a beacon of the ancient world. The Egyptians were not the only ancient civilization that built great pyramids. They can be found on both hemispheres, from ancient Peru and Bolivia to Guatemala, Belize, Mexico, and all throughout the rest of North America. In the old world, we see the ruins of ancient pyramids in not only Egypt, but also deep within the remote deserts of Sudan, Libya, Iraq, Cambodia, China, and even Greece, of which most of these sites most people have never heard of. So with that being said, I haven't done an ancient tier list in a little while, so I thought it'd be fun to compile the top 5 biggest pyramids of the ancient world. Now, biggest can be defined in a number of ways, from height to mass or even the size of the base. But for this video's sake and for simplicity's sake, I'm going to go by the most imposing factor of a pyramid's size, and that is, of course, its height. Now, other pyramid tier lists may be different than my own because they factor in things like the size of the base or the mass, but in my opinion, that kind of makes the determining of the size a bit blurry, because in many cases, giant platforms were erected and you might be able to claim that this is a pyramid when really maybe it's just a raised platform, so I figure the height is the easiest thing to go by. Just a few weeks ago, I was with Dr. Edwin Barnhart in the jungles of Chiapas, Mexico, standing at the base of the Pyramid of Inscriptions at Palenque. Its height was extremely imposing, and the lowest terrace of the pyramid was more than twice my height, and the top of the pyramid seemed to stand in the sky, resting against the treetops of the ascending jungle. Now, the Temple of Inscriptions, or Pyramid of Inscriptions at Palenque, is comparatively a much smaller pyramid when you consider all the many other pyramids built by ancient civilizations all over the world. And even with it being a comparatively smaller structure, its size is still hard to comprehend. And all of the videos in my list are significantly larger than the Temple of Inscriptions at Palenque, so you need to remember that these structures it's not even possible to understand how big they are. Now, the 5th largest pyramid on my list may actually be the number 1 largest pyramid on many other people's lists, as it is constantly cited the largest pyramid in the world. In 5th place, we have the newly popular ancient Mexican pyramid of Cholula. This megalithic site has been recently popularized due to being featured in Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse, where he visits the pyramid and theorizes its potential connections to a much more remote ancient past. Now, there is no hard evidence for his pondering as of yet, but he is not wrong in stating that there is much more than meets the eye when it comes to Cholula. Commonly cited as being the actual largest pyramid on Earth, Cholula is actually comprised of 7 further pyramids that make up its enormous structure. The pyramid complex itself was built in multiple pyramidal stages between 300 BC and 900 AD, presumably by the ancient and mysterious Toltec civilization. Furthermore, the ancient city surrounding Cholula is the longest inhabited ancient city in the Americas, with its first inhabitants settling the land approximately just before 500 BC and building their first pyramid about 200 years after its founding in around 300 BC. Now, Cholula is the largest known pyramid on Earth in terms of volume, but its volume is made up of multiple platforms and pyramids, all of which comprise the greater structure that we recognize today as the Pyramid of Cholula. Because of this, it is a bit of a blurry line to call it the world's largest pyramid, so I will include it at number 5 on my personal list. Cholula measures in with a height of about 82 feet. Now, at number 4, we have a very polarizing ancient megalithic site. So in recent times, although this site is largely unknown to the general public, the notoriety of this site has grown quite significantly as of recent, and so has rumors of its apparent size. This site, like Cholula, often makes headlines as being the world's newest largest pyramid, and that is the Danta pyramid. Found deep within the most remote regions of the Petén Maya jungles in northern Guatemala lies what is often thought of as perhaps the Fertile Crescent of the Maya world, or in other words, the place where their civilization was born. The pyramid sits within an incredibly ancient Maya city that we know today as El Mirador. It was first settled in approximately 1000 BC, and archaeological evidence suggests that it was largely inhabited until 250 AD, nearly 1,300 years. It was after this that it is suggested that the Maya may have begun to spread out across the Yucatan Peninsula and further progress into the Maya Classic period, from roughly 200 AD to 900 AD. La Danta stands at a staggering 236 feet tall. However, its base can mysteriously not yet be precisely measured, as much of its base is entirely now covered by the jungle soil. Therefore, it may turn out that La Danta's height will increase as time and further archaeological digs continue. At number 3, we return to the world of the mysterious Maya once again to visit perhaps an even more obscure site, Tonaina. Although the site has been nearly fully excavated, it still remains somewhat in obscurity. Tonaina lies in the southern Mexican state of Chiapas near more prominent sites like the ancient Maya city of Palenque. Tonaina is huge, and it seems much larger when you take in the fact that Tonaina's pyramid also acted as the city center, town plaza, and a palace all in one. It was a city built onto a pyramid, or a pyramid built into a city. And really, it is multiple pyramids, as at least 3 artificial peaks can be seen. Furthermore, many of the pyramids seen in the Maya world are pyramids that have been built into a hillside, making it much easier to construct a massive monument. But the excavations at Tonaina have revealed that deeper into Tonaina's superstructure lies yet another, even more ancient pyramid beneath. This indicates that at least the majority of Tonaina's monument is an artificial and man-made construction project geniusly designed by ancient Mayan architects. Tonaina was built and populated between 495 to 900 AD, almost the entire length of the Maya Classic period. It warred against other great Maya city-states like Palenque and established itself as a force of the ancient region. The massive city pyramid measures in at a colossal 243 feet tall. Now, as many of you may have guessed is coming, we will be venturing across the Atlantic Ocean and into the land of the pharaohs. At number 2, the Bent Pyramid. According to the traditional Egyptological chronology, it was Djoser, along with the architectural help of Imhotep, who built the first pyramid. It was done by constructing a mound of mastabas on top of one another. A mastaba was a pre-dynastic, above-ground tomb used to entomb the ancient pharaohs before approximately 265 BC. Then, about 4 generations of rulers later, a pharaoh named Senefru arrived in approximately 2600 BC. Before Senefru and after Djoser, there had not been any incredibly grand pyramids built surpassing the original Saqqara step pyramid commissioned by Djoser and designed by Imhotep. Senefru set out to change that. And so the journey towards what would become Egypt's Great Pyramids began. Senefru wanted a flush, smooth, straight design down the sides of the pyramids, not distinctly stepped sides like previous pyramids had shown. However, it is likely that this design choice was not made until construction on his pyramid had already begun. It is likely that because of this, issues with the structural integrity of the monument began to form and it collapsed, becoming known today as the Collapsed Pyramid of Medum. Following this, Senefru, being the powerful ruler he was, tried once again. This time, the pyramid was going to be even larger, and it was going to perfect the model of the true smooth-sided straight pyramid. But the trajectory of its angles was too vertical. The pharaoh and his architects realized that the construction at this angle was becoming more and more unrealistic and not feasible. Likely, it was going to result in yet again another unfinished and collapsed project. They decided to make the peak of the upper half of the pyramid much more shallow, allowing them to use less stone and keep the pyramid's height at a manageable level. This created the bend we acknowledge in its angle today, the Bent Pyramid. Senefru decided to complete this pyramid, however, with entire interior tunnels, chambers, and corridors as well. The final height measured at 344 feet tall and 621 feet at its base, the largest monument ever constructed on the earth at the time. But interestingly, that wasn't the end of the story, and Senefru seemingly was not satisfied with his colossal monument. Perhaps the bend bothered him too much, so he decided to commission yet another project. He was going to perfect the construction of the true perfect pyramid, this time using a particularly red pigmented limestone. Adopting the same angle used in the top half of the bent pyramid, he applied this more shallow angle to the entire pyramid. It was designed to stand at 341 feet tall, just 3 feet shorter than the bent pyramid, and 722 feet at its base, making its base much wider than the bent pyramid, allowing for a more stable structure. And thus, with seemingly no pyramid collapsing hiccups, the first Great Pyramid was born, the Red Pyramid. It was constructed in approximately 2570 BC and would set the stage for the most staggering colossal monument ever constructed in the ancient world, the Great Pyramid. Approximately 20 to 30 years after the great and wealthy reign of the pharaoh Senefru, Senefru's son Khufu would go on to construct one of the last standing great wonders of the ancient world. Now, it should be said that I'm not somebody to immediately brush off the possibility of an ancient Atlantean civilization existing upwards of 9600 BC, of which this Atlantean civilization a lot of people say are responsible for the Great Pyramids on the Giza Plateau. But at the same time, I personally find traditional ancient Egypt just as interesting. And there are an entire plethora of ancient architectural magnificent sites that are undoubtedly the work of the ancient Egyptians that we're all familiar with. So just for the sake of this video, I will be sticking to the traditional Egyptological timeline. So just north of Dashur, a fairly unused area called Giza was selected to be the location of where Senefru's son Khufu was to build his massive pyramid. Presumably, many of the same architectural techniques that had been perfected during the reign of Senefru were used to perfectly construct the largest pyramid that Egypt had ever and would ever see, with massive 2.5-ton limestone blocks being quarried from nearby bedrock and colossal 80-ton red granite blocks being transported from the Aswan quarry over 500 miles south of Giza, of which the means by which the blocks were cut and transported has never been irrefutably proven. In the end, it's estimated that over 2.3 million blocks in total were used during its roughly 20-year construction. However, this too is a highly polarized claim. The 20-year construction theory has been studied numerous times and has never been logically explained, but for the sake of brevity, we won't address that in this video. In the end, Khufu's Great Pyramid climbed its way to over 450 feet tall and over 750 feet at its base, far exceeding his father's work by an incredible margin. Following Khufu's pyramid, his son Khafre built a pyramid almost identical in size, and never again was an architectural achievement of this magnitude ever seen in the ancient world. And perhaps more interestingly, the vast majority of the ancient history we are aware of occurred between 1200 BC and 400 AD, with the rise of ancient Greece and the fall of Rome. However, by the time Greece had risen to prominence in around 12 to 1100 BC, these pyramids had already been standing at Giza for over 1,000 years. I hadn't made an ancient tier list video in quite a while, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you'd like to see more in the comment section below. Now, in my next video, I'm starting a new series called Kings of Egypt, where I will be highlighting and teaching about the entire chronology and history of Egypt from the rise to the fall of the civilization. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more, as it really does help out the channel, and it allows me to continue making these videos for you guys. Anyways, I'm Luke Caverns, and we'll see you all next time.